Every week, NFL teams battle for a victory. The members of the Roundtable battle to rank the top 10 teams in the NFL. Guests bring their arguments and defend their top 10. Hosted by Thomas Brown, this is the Rankings Roundtable.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to Week 10's edition of the Rankings Roundtable show. I am your host, Thomas Brown Jr. Unless you can't see, I'll say it for you. And I didn't come alone. And by the way, I'm totally fine. Don't worry about me being on cloud nine this week. The Eagles found a way. Well, not necessarily the Eagles, but their head coach found a way to give me a heart attack, damn near. So don't have to worry about that. I may or may not bring out the blanket, but that's totally fine. That's neither here nor there. But I didn't come alone, as you always know. I got some friends to join me. DJ, boy, oh boy, oh boy. Is there such thing as being a grateful Giants fan these days? I mean, where is your head at?
You know what? I'm grateful every game isn't a 10-point or more blowout. I'll tell you that. They're in every game except for two. The Eagle game where, Saquon was out for blood. And, of course, the first game of the season where they didn't look like they played together, which they did. But, look, I'm grateful they're in every game. I get to see 3/4 of hopeful football. There you go.
Wow. The fact that you're grateful you have Daniel Jones as your quarterback, God bless you. Next, I have my lovely friend covering the DMV, Ravens enthusiast, Commanders written all over it. Kaz, how you doing, my friend? How you feeling today?
I'm doing good, doing very well. How you guys doing?
Doing all right.
Good, Kaz.
All right. Week 10 was a very interesting week, to say the least. Saw some teams that probably shouldn't have lost. We saw some teams that separated themselves from the pack. Then we saw some other teams that, showed how bad they are. And then some. And we'll get into that later with a little change up with the segment on the show. I'm very excited for that. DJ, I'll start with you. What does your top 10 list look like? And try not to give me a wonderful therapy session about the New York Giants while you're at it. I know it's not easy.
You know what? I'm going to do the top 10 and not the bottom 5 first. So there's going to be no New York Giants talk this time. All right, TV. All right. So top 10 list coming into week 10. I know last time we had some discrepancies there. I had to switch some stuff around. I made sure we did it right. Coming in, we're going to start off number 10 team. I have the Minnesota Vikings. You know what? I still believe in that defense. That is a playoff defense. That defense will also likely buy them a playoff win. Like I said last time, and I'll continue to say since week 1 about that team, I do not have faith in the quarterback, Sam Darnold. He did play better earlier in the season, but now you're starting to see a lot of his play look like the reasons why Sam Darnold has bounced around over the last couple of years. So, the up and down quarterback play for the Vikings doesn't give them that much promise going into the postseason. Not only that, looking back at their history the past 5-6 years, they've always been paper champions. They've been good. 10-plus wins. They've made it into the playoffs. Even my Giants showed them up 2 years ago. Daniel Jones went into Minnesota and won that game. So Minnesota, they're a top 10 team because that defense brings them there. But overall, they're not a team that I would have faith in. But, they break the top 10 this week. Number 9, I have Atlanta Falcons. I didn't really believe in Kirk Cousins before because of a lot of what I just said about Minnesota. He was there during those years where they were the paper champions, 10-11 win teams. They even got as far as the NFC Championship game, but Kirk just couldn't get them there. I like what he's doing. Kirk is a reliable quarterback. People always dog Kirk Cousins since his DC days, but let's be real. He's reliable. He's getting the ball to those weapons, Drake London and Bijan Robinson, You see what he's doing with that young talent. Still, Kirk Cousins isn't the guy who's going to get you to a Super Bowl. They break the top 10. That defense is also improved. They have a good defense down in Atlanta. Number 9, they're also in a weak NFC, but I don't see them going too far. They might make it to the divisional round, but more than likely they'll be bounced out wild card weekend. Number 8, TB, I got the Philadelphia Eagles. They're winning. They're playing good. I don't know what that coach is doing. He ain't even coaching no more. Your man's just out here doing stuff on the sidelines and, getting some memes out of it. So I like Philly. I love Saquon. That was one of the most amazing hurdles I've ever seen. Here on my wall, I have Saquon hurling somebody in a Giants jersey. So, that's just what he does. I don't have faith in this team down the stretch or in the playoffs this year. That's what it is. Same thing. I feel like they'll make it maybe as far as the divisional round. There's going to be some kinks to work out with the coaching staff. He and Coach and Jalen Hurts just haven't been on the same page for the last couple of years. That means somebody else is going to walk in that door. So Eagles are in the top 10 because that talent, they have undeniable talent on that team, and they're good. They play well. But I just don't have that much faith in them because of some of the dysfunction going on in that locker room. Number 7, Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh is a good team. They're well coached. Look, Russell Wilson, no, he's not what he used to be, but I talked about it last time. He can still make some of those throws. You see how better that team is implementing a Super Bowl quarterback, a veteran, over Justin Fields. Justin Fields held it down, though. You got to give him that. But I love what Russell Wilson is doing. He's not the Russell Wilson of old. This is the new Russ, the more toned down Russ, but Russ could still play. He's making enough plays to help that team win. I don't think Pittsburgh's going to go too far in the playoffs this year because this looks like it might be a Ravens year. Ravens, Buffalo, and, Kansas City just keeps on winning. But I love what the Pittsburgh Steelers are doing. Love Mike Tomlin. So they're number 7. Number 6. Washington Commanders, Jaden Daniels. How do you not love what the young rookie is doing? They have a great ground game. Austin Eckler looks like he's having a bit of a revival out there. Excuse me if I got his name. Is it Brian Robinson? Brian Robinson, yep. Right? Yeah, Brian Robinson Jr. I almost said Brian Washington. Brian Robinson Jr. And of course, Jaden Daniels makes that running game go. There's a lot to fear with him behind center, with what he could do with his legs and his arm. He's an excellent passing quarterback. Don't get it twisted. That defense, it is their shortcoming, but you saw what they did in free agency. They shored it up there on the outside cornerback position, making the trade for Lattimore. So, they've moved up to number 6. I think they're going to make a lot of noise, and they're probably going to scare somebody and steal an important game in the playoffs. Watch out for the Commanders. Number 5, we got the Houston Texans. This is still, I spoke about it last time. There's still some stuff tentatively going on now. Steph Diggs is going to be out. CJ Stroud in his second year, he's still playing great right now. Not as good as I guess the offense could be. There's still some kinks to work out. I love what DeMarco Ryans is doing out there as head coach. There's a lot to believe in. Will Anderson Jr., I love them. I picked that defense on fantasy. I felt like they were going to take the step, and they are taking the step. I have them at number 5. I don't know down the stretch because of their health how they're going to do going into the playoffs. I still believe they're a playoff team, and they're going to run away with that division. They're my number 5 team. Number 4, the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen is still playing like an MVP candidate. I don't think it's his to run away with. I think there's some up and downs with Keon Coleman. A little more down than up, but you could say that about a few guys. I have the same thing to say about a receiver for the Chiefs coming up in a second. But you know what? I like what they're doing. That's a veteran defense, so they're going to play well. They're going to continue to play well. It's Buffalo's division to lose right now, clearly in the AFC East. And I think that Buffalo, look, this year for the first time in the playoffs, Josh Allen's going to come out. He's making a case it's Super Bowl or bust. It's, between Josh Allen and especially Lamar Jackson, a 2-time MVP, those are 2 guys who really, they need to make it to the Super Bowl this year. This is their year. The voices are getting louder. So they top the top 5. They're number 4, Buffalo. I like them moving forward. I expect to see Buffalo potentially in the AFC title game. So that's that. Number 3, Detroit Lions. Detroit is in the house, man. Look, they fixed the defensive issues, and I know last time I talked about they can't rush the passer, and they have no Aiden Hutchinson. You saw that they made a big splash move in free agency. I like what they're doing now. They have a bona fide pass rusher there back on the line. I still feel a way about Jared Goff. He is playing really good football, and they're running the ball well. They could do that with Jahmyr Gibbs, of course, and David Montgomery, the way they're running right now. So I like this team. There's still a bit of a question mark on, unfairly over Jared Goff, but I like this team, what they could do. I think they're going to be in the Super Bowl. I have it as a Baltimore, Detroit Super Bowl. That's what I think that they're going to do this year. It's also a down year in the NFC, like I've said several times, but it's Detroit's conference to lose this year. Number 2, I got the Kansas City Chiefs. It goes without saying they're 8-0. They're the only undefeated team in the league. You know what? They keep on winning because 3 of the most important things: they convert on third down. They can score in the red zone, and they have Patrick Mahomes. Also defense, but they have Patrick Mahomes. So no matter how much the games look like they're struggling going along, Patrick Mahomes, you can win every game. And number 1, Baltimore Ravens. Of course, I've said it before. Right now, our guy, number 8, Lamar Jackson, he's the best quarterback in the NFL. He's playing like it. He's leading that team. I like what they're doing. Isaiah Likely, he's coming on as one of the top tight ends in the NFL. Derrick Henry's making a case for MVP, although they don't give that award to running backs. And I have them not only in the Super Bowl against the Detroit Lions, but winning it. But that is my Week 10 top 10.
Wow. DJ, I gotta admit, man, I don't know if the Giants losing yet again this year has caused you to feel a way about some of these teams and how they're positioned on your list, but I cannot wait to dive into that. Trust and believe me. I promise I am not just picking on you because you're wearing that lovely Giants hat, and I say it lovely in a brotherly, lovely way, or whatever they say.
Of brotherly love.
Yeah, there you go. See, you're catching on. All right, now, guys, you have a very interesting list yourself. What does your list look like, man? Break it down for me.
Yeah, so I'm gonna start from the bottom. Coming at number 10, I have the Minnesota Vikings. I have them this far down because I feel like throughout the weeks, Sam Darnold has digressed. He's not the same Sam Darnold we've seen from the first 4 weeks. He's having so many turnover-worthy plays, even though they have Justin Jefferson, Aaron Jones, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, so many weapons on offense. It just feels like this team is struggling to come out the gates and beat the teams they're supposed to be. Vikings have a good defense. If Sam Darnold can somehow become the Sam Darnold he was through weeks 1 through 3, then I think they'll be fine. And then at number 9, I have the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers are good. As long as Jordan Love can stay healthy, they'll make the playoffs. The only problem is when Jordan Love's in and out the lineup, he's leaving the game in the second quarter with ankle injury and coming back. It just messes up the whole flow of the team. They still have one of the best safeties in the league in Xavier McKinney, who was in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. Have a good offense. They have guys, might not be high caliber guys, but they have guys that fit their system. And I think the Packers can heat up in the recent week because their schedule gets a little easier. And then at number 8, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers would be higher up on this list, but I'm still unsure about Russell Wilson and how he's going to progress throughout the season. We saw the first couple games, Justin Fields was looking very good, but then he hit a patch in his season when it was just like the Steelers needed to change. Their defense is still one of the top 3 defenses in the NFL. They have George Pickens. They just picked up Mike Williams, which is a great pickup. Could you get another guy out there on the left side of the field that takes pressure off of George Pickens. The Steelers have a good running game and Jalen Warren and Najee Harris. So the Steelers are good. Their defense is good, but I'm still unsure about Russell Wilson and how his season is going to progress. Then coming in number 7 at the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are getting there. Jalen Hurts over the last 4 weeks is looking like one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League. I like what he's playing. I like the game plan they're going. They're starting to feed Saquon Barkley early in the game. They're making a game plan around Saquon, and that's what you need to do when you go out and get a running back for that top end money. You have to build a game plan around him. He's your best player right now. The health of A.J. Brown is getting concerning. It feels like every other week he's dealing with another nagging injury. Devontae Smith is still there. Their defense is coming alive. Their secondary is getting healthier each week. That front is still one of the best fronts in the league. So Philadelphia Eagles will be as good as long as Nick Sirianni makes the right decisions. And then coming in number 6 is Atlanta Falcons. Kirk Cousins has been amazing this year. I didn't expect Kirk Cousins to be this good coming off of Achilles injury. You have Drake London, you have Bijan Robinson, you have Ray McLeod, you have Darnell Mooney, who is finally getting his career in the right path after a rough stretch in Chicago. And then that defense is flying to the ball. Jesse Bates, guys like those. You have A.J. Terrell, who is one of the most underrated corners in the league and is locking up in man coverage. That team is just built to win. And I think if they get in the playoffs, it's going to be a bad matchup for other teams, including the Lions. And then at number 5, I have the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills worry me a little because that defense is not as good as we thought. They're not as good as they've been the past years. Even though they have Keon Coleman, you just got Amari Cooper on the offensive end. It's feeling like Josh Allen has to be Superman 99% of the time for this team to win. And if Josh Allen isn't at the top of his game, then this team struggles. They have to get James Cook going in that running game. I feel like that's their best attribute. We saw last year when they were running the ball heavy, the Bills were winning. They're still a winning team. They're still going to make the playoffs. I actually have them in the AFC Championship game going against the Ravens, but it depends how the seeding handles. And then at 4, I have the Washington Commanders, Jaden Daniels, Rookie of the Year. It's over. It's no question he's the Rookie of the Year. What he has done for the city, for that team, he's been amazing. They just went out and got Marshawn Lattimore, who has been one of the most underrated corners in the NFC his whole career. That's a big help because the Commanders' secondary has struggled against good teams. They have Austin Eckler, they have Brian Robinson, they have Terry McLaurin, who's still good. Then they have a proven tight end who's Zach Ertz, who knows how to beat defenses and help his team late in games. Commanders will be very good. I think Jaden Daniels has that right attribute and that right leadership to lead this team. They can make a far playoff push, but it's all up to that defense. Then at number 3, I wanted to put the Ravens 1, but the only reason why the Ravens are 3 is because of that defense. The Ravens, Lamar Jackson is the best player in football right now. He's playing at an all-time level. He's better than his 2019 MVP season. He's top 2 in passing yards, top 2 in passing TDs, first in completion percentage, first in QB rating. Like Lamar Jackson's doing it all. And Derrick Henry, like he said, Derrick Henry, if it wasn't a quarterback award, he would be the MVP because what he's leading, he already has 1,000 rushing yards halfway throughout the season. And it's just concerning because that defense, the secondary is their weak point. Like we see teams like Bo Nix last weekend. Like if Lamar Jackson didn't get out of hand and stay on schedule, Bo Nix would have kept carving that defense up. They made a few plays to get them out, but the defense is going to be the weak part. And I think when you go up against teams like Kansas City and Buffalo in the playoffs and Mahomes goes on 9-10-minute drives, it's going to tire that secondary out. And if they can handle it, I know they just got Tre'Davious White, but this is not the same Tre'Davious White from 2019. It all consists of Zach Orr and how he handled the game plan. And then at number 2, we have the best offense in football. It's Detroit Lions. It's not even close. Dave Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs. Hopefully they'll get Jameson Williams back. Amon St. Brown, Sam Laporta. And then Jared Goff is also playing at the MVP level. I know a lot of people want to say they don't trust Jared Goff, but I've been a big Jared Goff fan his whole career, even when he was with the Rams. I said the Rams did him dirty. He got them to a Super Bowl. He might have not done good, but he was there. That defense is really good. I know they lost Aiden Hutchinson, but they just went out and got Jadeveon Clowney. So they're bringing in guys that just fits right in the puzzle, fits right in the pieces. And the way the NFC is formed this year, I don't think any team in the NFC besides maybe the Eagles, if they're on schedule, can go game to game with this team and outscore them. And then at number one, I have to go with the Kansas City Chiefs. They're undefeated. They haven't lost a game. Even when you think they're going to lose a game, Mahomes just comes right back and just be Mahomes. Like, he might not be the best quarterback in the NFL this year, but that team is built around success on that defense. That defense is looking scarier than it's ever been. This is probably the best defense Patrick Mahomes has ever had in his career. And it's like, once you get DeAndre Hopkins, who was heating up like we saw this past week, DeAndre Hopkins is right there. He's getting better. They have Kareem Hunt, who's kind of going back to his 2019, 2020 days when he was with Mahomes and they were leading the team. So Travis Kelce, all these type of weapons. And the Chiefs are a bad matchup for any team. We've seen this year, the way that the Chiefs have the time of possession, they keep the ball for over 8 minutes and don't allow other teams to get the ball. That's going to be a bad matchup for the Ravens when their defense is already struggling.
Wow. Kaz, what a list, man. What a list. Trust me, I have some questions about yours too. Don't think that you're skating by here. But that'll be after our commercial break. We'll take a real commercial break real fast. This is the Rankings Roundtable Show. Right back at you. See you soon.
In 2006, we founded Yeti Coolers with a simple mission: build a cooler we use every day if it existed. One that was built for the serious outdoor enthusiasts rather than for mass discount retailers. One that could take the abuse we knew we'd put it through, out in the field and on the water. One that simply wouldn't break. We decided early on that production innovation would come from necessity and first-hand experience, not from market research and data analysis. Today, Yeti products perform when it matters most. Whether that be an excursion into the remote Alaskan wilderness, chasing redfish on the Gold Coast, or just getting together with friends in the backyard, we make gear that helps you stay out longer, travel farther, and live harder. #built for the wild.
You are watching Team NBS Media. We are a digital media brand covering sports, entertainment, and lifestyle, with team members all across the country. Through our written content, podcasts, and video content, we bring you fresh and professional content. Interested in joining the team? Shoot us an email or DM. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe.
All right. Welcome back to the Rankings Roundtable Show. I am your host, Thomas Brown Jr. I have DJ joining me tonight. I have Kaz joining me tonight. Okay, depending on how you're watching this, one guy's on the right-hand side, one guy's on the bottom. That's on my screen anyways. Needless to say, okay, we got my list to go over, okay? We got some superlatives. I can't talk tonight. Forgive me. Superlatives. We got some midseason awards. We got a trade deadline to talk about. And then lastly, I got a little switch up with one of my favorite segments of this show. I cannot wait to show it to you. It makes his lovely debut tonight. I cannot wait. But you know what? It's time to put up the most controversial list, apparently, these days when it comes to this freaking show. It's mine, ironically. I want to talk about it. Let's see what my list looks like here. All right. Now, I'm gonna go 10-1 here. I got the Green Bay Packers. Now, I understand that they lost to the Detroit Lions. Okay, I am aware of that. Let me also say this before I go any further. I totally forgot that the Pittsburgh Steelers were on a bye, so I missed them on this list. Okay, I will put my hands up and say my bad. I apologize. It may or may not happen again. That's why it's a week-to-week league, damn it. Okay, and it's my list. Anyways, Packers at 10. Look, they lost to the better team. We already knew that Detroit Lions were probably going to beat them, even with them being on the road, even with it being a rainstorm down there in Green Bay. But Josh Jacobs, 95 yards, 7.3 yards per carry. Jaden Reed, 5 receptions and 115 yards. The offense is still clicking. Just wasn't enough to beat the Detroit Lions, who, like Cass said, is one of the best offenses, if not the best offense in the NFL. Can't really get mad at you. Number 9, I know this is a shocker to most. I have not the San Diego Chargers, the Los Angeles Chargers, okay? I never thought I would say San Diego in quite a while, so I guess I'm getting used to Los Angeles already. All right, hear me out. Their defense is number 1 in points per game allowed with 12.6. So not only are they winning these games, they're shutting you down on their side of the football, okay? Then you have Justin Herbert, who's had 275-plus yards in 3 straight games. Look, at 5-3, you got to be in the conversation for being one of the top 10 teams in the league. I'm sorry. You just have to be up there. 8, I have the Minnesota Vikings. Justin Jefferson is still good at football. 7 receptions, 137 yards. Back-to-back games, over 115-plus yards receiving. I know we may not trust Sam Darnold, but boy, oh boy, do we trust the guy that's catching the ball from him. And that's why they have only 2 losses to their name this year. I have the Falcons at 7, 27-plus points in 4 of the last 5 games. Kirk Cousins, I know everybody likes to trash on Kirk Cousins. Of course, I enjoy the humor in doing that the past couple of years. Before this year, I don't know what's going on at ATL. Maybe it's the wings. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I need to ask Lou Will what's going on with ATL. But for whatever reason, Kirk Cousins is acting like he's been there his whole career and has been balling out. Okay? 222 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. And in his last 2 games, he's had 7 touchdowns to 0. I repeat, 0 interceptions, which I don't know about you. That's something that Kirk Cousins doesn't typically do. Okay? So times are changing. The wings are getting better. The flavors are getting hotter. I don't know. Okay? 6, I might have to put the blanket on this one halfway this week. Magic City Wings. Thank you. I knew that's what it was. Magic City Wings. Thanks, Lou Will. Number 6, I have the lovely Philadelphia Eagles. Saquon Barkley is so good, man. DJ, you don't know how much I'm grateful. I talk so much about being grateful to start the show. I'm purposely, and I mean this, I'm so grateful that the New York Giants were exuding so much stupidity during an offseason. They decided to give us your one and only best player on offense. We appreciate it. It means a lot to us. I know y'all don't usually gift us anything behind, maybe 2 wins a year against y'all.
Yeah, win.
But we appreciate Saquon Barkley. 199 scrimmage yards, 2 touchdowns, 100-plus yards rushing in 3 straight games. And by the way, we talk about Jalen Hurts. You know he hasn't thrown an interception since the bye week. And you know what? As an Eagles fan, I love to hear it and I love to see it. All right? I got the Ravens at 5, second in points per game with 31.4, first in yards per game. And Derrick Henry, as a wise man once said, he is a bad man. Okay? A touchdown in every single game this year. Lamar Jackson, 3 TDs, 280 yards, 20 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions on the year. It doesn't get much better than that. I have the Commanders at 4. Jaden Daniels, Kaz, you hit it right on the money. The Rookie of the Year is a wrap. Don't even question it. Don't even think about it. Don't second guess it. It's his. And honestly, he could throw 5,000 picks and he would still win it because the Bears are that god-awful right now. Okay? Jaden Daniels, 209 yards, 2 touchdowns, 9.5 yards per attempt. Only has 2 INTs on the year to 9 touchdowns. The man's fantastic. I can't even argue that. He's been fantastic. Number 3, I had the Buffalo Bills. I think everybody's not giving them a whole lot of shine because, I don't know what it is. They're not blowing teams out. I don't know what the case may be. But they're 7-2, and they're 7-2 for a reason. Josh Allen is one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and he's shown it. 235 yards, 3 touchdowns. And I know we don't typically give a whole lot of love to the offensive line,
No.
but their offensive line has allowed 3 sacks in the last 3 games. Not a whole lot of offensive lines can say that they can do that, okay? So it's about as impressive can get as far as Buffalo's concerned. Number 2, I have the Detroit Lions. Number 1 in points per game. Y'all already know this. David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. What do they call themselves? Sonic and Knuckles? A combined touchdown and 138 yards rushing. They're pretty good. All right. And number 1, we have the undefeated. I can't believe I'm saying that. Undefeated Kansas City Chiefs at 8-0. 26 plus points in the last 4 games. And Patrick Mahomes, everybody talking about how bad their offense has been. And quite honestly, I don't blame you because we all have seen it. Hasn't been the greatest. Well, it showed itself up this past Monday. Patrick Mahomes, 3 touchdowns, 291 yards. I got to say this now. I think the NFL is doomed because the offense was supposed to be this tragedy on display, and yet they're undefeated. And now they got DeAndre Hopkins, and they're playing with a backup running back, and their defense is playing top 5 football. Travis Kelce starting to get the ball more. The whole league is doomed, okay? I'm going to say that now. The whole league is just doomed. We're cooked. Whatever word you want to use to describe it. They're playing well without playing well. I don't understand it. But that's my top 10 list. Now, DJ, I have to pick on you by default. A, because your team found a way to lose yet another divisional matchup. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, you have a quarterback by the name of Daniel Jones, which, by the way, I still feel sorry for you. Actually, no, I don't. Your franchise decided to take him over Saquon Barkley, which, again, we appreciate. Thank you. But your list has a very interesting diatribe, if you will. You have the Houston Texans over the Philadelphia Eagles. Why is that?
Couple of things. Listen, I know just how well Jalen Hurts is playing. And yeah, Saquon Barkley, it's like you hate to see him go, but I'll say this, couple of things. When it comes to Saquon, he's better served on a better team. The Giants just have been struggling for years with issues with the offensive line and, coaching issues. So, let him go. I want to watch him thrive. I want to watch him do well, even if it's not with us. I just wish it wasn't with a division team. But, what about the list, though? I believe in the Houston Texans right now a little bit more than I do the Philadelphia Eagles. One thing that I keyed on, besides the great play on the field, and you know what? They're another team, all of the teams in the top 10, though, but they're another team I believe in, sort of like I do with the Detroit Lions. It's that talent. That talent allows them to be great, especially what you're seeing on defense. My guy who I loved at Georgia, it was Jordan Davis, one of the biggest human beings in the world, too, playing line. He is really coming of age right now. You're seeing that start to take place on that defense. You can't say enough about the offense, but one thing I will say, as I have alluded to it, it's a little bit of the coaching dysfunction and some of the miscues stuff going on with Nick Sirianni. I just don't think that's going to bode well down the stretch. I'm not saying that they're going to have another collapse this year. I just don't see them doing well when they get to the playoffs. I think they're going to be an in and out team. They get bounced out in the first round. That's one thing. That's one reason why I don't feel strong. I don't feel that great about the Philadelphia Eagles. Talent aside, play aside, I just think that they're going to have some of those dysfunction and coaching miscue issues, and it's going to turn up down the stretch in important games towards the end of the season and in the playoffs. So that's one reason for that. I also think C.J. Stroud is the guy. I think that team needs to get healthy, really, for them to for that ceiling really to raise up, for you to really see what they could do. and they could be as dangerous as they could potentially be. But they're having some health issues right now offensively. But they're still a young team. They're young and they're good. They're supposed to be building these last 2 years. Clearly, they're looking like they're a playoff team and they're going to be perennially. But that's the reason for that. I believe in the Houston Texans right now a little bit more, just because of the dysfunction, the inner grumblings there with Philadelphia. Talent aside and great play aside.
Okay. Well, DJ, I ain't gonna let you completely off the hook yet, because there's something else I saw that made me raise an eyebrow like The Rock, and I want to cover that real fast. You have the Baltimore Ravens. Now, I want to make sure that I add context here. This is the same Baltimore Ravens that lost to a team that has religiously been in the bottom 5, which will be newly named on this episode's show for the most part of this year, in the Cleveland Browns. Yet they are number 1 on your list. Why is that?
You know what? First of all, I know this is cliche. You're gonna kill me for this one, TB. The any given Sunday rule. Look, man, you drop one every now. You drop one every now and again. I don't care what you say. You drop one every now and again. Not only that, I just want to say this on the Team NBS production here. I said it last time at the rankings show. I said Jameis Winston's going to mess around and win y'all some, and he did. So shout out to Jameis Winston eating that W all day. I love Jameis. I love his antics. But yeah, look, the Baltimore Ravens, we've all said it. Everybody here on this show just said it. I said it. Cass said it. You said it, TB. Lamar Jackson is the best quarterback in the NFL right now. I know they lost that game. That was a tough loss to Cleveland. They took a down game, and you know what? Cleveland played them really well. It's a division opponent. They're always going to play them well. You're going to see the same thing tomorrow night on Thursday Night Football with Cincinnati. I know Cincinnati's won 3 of their last 4, so they're starting to look better. They're always Mr. Slow Start Cincinnati, but I believe, I always say I believe in this team. I believe in that team. I think that the defensive woes may not be so prevalent in the playoffs if we see, they pack a running game. And when you pack a running game, especially in the playoffs, you could do things like control the ball, control the clock, and keep the opposing offense off the field. That's something that is going to work well for them. As we see in 2025, when we get to the postseason in January, potentially they'll even be playing in February. I believe that they will be in the Super Bowl. But I think that the key for them is going to be what that offense could do to keep the other team off the field, controlling the clock, controlling the ball throughout the course of a game. And that defense can play well enough. I know, especially at the cornerback position, we're seeing Humphrey. He's getting up there in age. He's starting to decline a little bit. They don't have the pass rush as good as it should be. McQueen had left. They have some talented linebacker play, but they're young at that position as well. So the defense, I believe, can play well enough to help the offense. But yeah, it's Lamar Jackson's world, and Derrick Henry is playing like he's like the second best player in the league right now, like the number 2 candidate for MVP behind Lamar.
You see this tag right here? You talking about the defense being able to stop anybody is hanging on by this thread right here. And it might mess around and come off by the end of this show. That's how bad that secondary has been, okay? That is holding on to a thread of hope. Are you sure about that one?
Yeah, I know. Look, I said I was being kind with my words. All right, let's be real. I was being kind with my words, though. Look, like I said, I believe they could play well enough. The defense is hanging on by a thread, and I expected them to make a better move, before the trade deadline. They didn't. There was also some talk about they were going after Lattimore. Washington picked them up before they got to, that whatever was working out there. Yeah, it's going to be pretty tough go for that defensive backfield. But like I said, the more time that they can spend on the field, running the ball, keeping it away from the other team, And I think that is their strong suit. The better off, the more chances that they'll have.
Okay. Now, Kaz, I don't necessarily have a whole lot of issues with your list, except for one. You have the Packers over the Minnesota Vikings. Now, to add context, it's the Green Bay Packers that lost to the Detroit Lions that didn't score an offensive touchdown. What were you thinking here when you made this pick? Was it a toss-up? What was going through your mind when you made this pick?
No, it's just generally I think the Packers are better. I think the Packers are way better than the Vikings. I wouldn't say way better, but I think they're better. I think they're a better built team for the playoffs. You look at the Vikings, if you take Justin Jefferson or you limit him out the game plan, because you're never going to take Justin Jefferson. He's still going to get his. But if you put pressure on Sam Darnold, force him, get them in third and longs, this team is not successful. Like we seen when they went up against the Colts, Sam Darnold really struggled against the pressure. And my only problem is if Sam Darnold can't handle the blitz, that's going to be the downfall of the Minnesota Vikings. I really like the Packers and their offense. I like the young players. I like Josh Jacobs, who's one of the best running backs in the league. I love that defense. The only problem is just getting Jordan Love healthy. If Jordan Love can just be healthy throughout the rest of the season, the Packers can surprisingly make a deep run because they're a bad matchup for any team. They have a good defense. They have a young, explosive offense, and Jordan Love doesn't make bad decisions.
Yeah, doesn't make bad decisions, but if you blink, he might mess around and give you another pick six if he feels like it. But I don't blame you. Now, so I should have told you guys to wear a suit for this episode. We got some mid-season awards to go over. Now, we're going to go very basic here, so don't mind us. I want to ask you who is your regular season MVP through the first half of the year. And then I want y'all to give me the team that surprised you the most this year and the team who has let you down the most. And I promise you, I'm probably going to enjoy the last answer more than the first. But I digress. Man, Kaz, what would those answers be for you?
So I'm going to go, that's MVP. It's clear. The guy who's throwing 20 touchdown passes and 2 interceptions. It's Lamar Jackson. He's playing at a different level. And the other one was most improved.
Do you want to go? You can do most improved, sure. You want to hand out awards? You can do participation. You can do participation awards, sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then the other one, most improved. I would say you could possibly say Sam Darnold, but I wouldn't say he put himself in that position to be a bench guy. But I would definitely say Xavier McKinney. Xavier McKinney is definitely most improved. Like we saw last year, Xavier McKinney took a little strides. He kind of struggled with the Giants from time to time. They didn't really know if he's going to be the cornerstone of that defense, of that franchise. That's why they let him go. They didn't want to pay him that money because they didn't know if he was actually going to be that guy. But now he's one of the best defensive players in the league. Like Xavier McKinney is amazing in coverage. He's a hard hitter. He's smart. Like he's doing so much for that Packers defense, and he's still very young. So my most improved player would definitely be Xavier McKinney.
All right, now who's your biggest disappointment? What team or player is your biggest disappointment so far this year?
My biggest disappointment. This might come as a shocker to everyone. I'm gonna go CJ Stroud.
I don't blame you.
I'm gonna go CJ. I'm gonna go CJ Stroud. Even though losing Nico Collins, you still have Tank Dell. You still have Mechie, who I don't understand why they're not giving John Mechie targets and opportunities because he can still be a good wide receiver in this league. That's just another story for a different day. But CJ Stroud is kind of in his sophomore slump. I guess you would say that's expected. He's not going to repeat what he did last year, but throughout the weeks, it just seems like CJ is just getting more uncomfortable reading blitzes. He's not using his legs. He's making turnover-worthy plays. On third down, they're struggling. And then losing Stephon Diggs, like a guy in that locker room, a guy in that huddle who can really, like, calm CJ down when he's going through a bad read, when he's having a bad game. That's really going to struggle that defense. that team. Even though they have Joe Mixon, who's a great running back, I still believe C.J. Stroud. Last year, he was a top 5 quarterback. This year, I would even put him in the top 7 range right now. Like, he didn't take that big jump that we hoped for. Even with a bad team, we've seen quarterbacks in their second year like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, all of these other guys, Jalen Hurts. We've seen guys propel their team even when injuries happen, and CJ has yet to do that.
Okay. DJ, my man. And by the way, Kaz, thank you for bringing up a common theme with the New York Giants. They see a guy that has a whole lot of potential, plays well for them. Then when it comes time to contract time, they just don't know if they're worth the money. Then they give them away, and then the team that ends up getting them ends up doing great, like immediately. I don't know. It's a common theme. DJ, what is your MVP, the team or player that has been the most improved, and the team or player that's been the most disappointing so far this year?
You know what? Cam TV, first of all, I want to say I don't want to interrupt Cam, but I saw it with Xavier McKinney. All right, I'm just being real. I saw it, and I was like, man, you got to keep him. I knew they weren't going to. And, hey, look, Dexter Lawrence got his second contract, so I'll give him that. So, they weren't totally crazy. But anyways, yeah, but you're right about that. So I'm going to say with my MVP, we're going to stick with the Baltimore Ravens on that. And that's why I have them as my #1 team. But I'm going to stick with the Baltimore Ravens. But this time I'm going to go to somebody. Cam brought up some excellent stats earlier. He's got a touchdown in every game, over 1,000 yards already halfway through the season. He's on pace for 2,000. And you know what? I hope that they do give him the proper rest. I'm going to go with Derrick Henry. I'll say it right now, my midseason MVP. And you know what? He's one of the biggest reasons why the Baltimore Ravens look so good. Look, it is what it is. We know Lamar Jackson is great. He's in the prime of his career, prime of his life. That's why he's balling out right now. But that team is being helped and better served by having this kind of running game behind Lamar Jackson, the first that he's ever had. You know, we've always talked about he needs weapons on the outside to throw to. Not so much when you have this dynamic of a running game, and he adds to that being who he is as Lamar Jackson. But I give it to Derrick Henry for what he's doing. He's incredible. Yeah, so he's going to be my midseason MVP. I'm going to talk about the most improved player. Cam took it right out of I was going to say my guy too, Xavier McKinney. And yeah, like I said, I saw it. I saw the greatness there. Unfortunately, you know, they didn't end up keeping him. They did that with another Alabama safety a few years ago. But you know, it is what it is. And you know, he's the most improved player, probably going to be defensive player of the year. Now that TJ Watt is going to be on the mend. So yeah, definitely I got Xavier McKinney. The most disappointing player, I'm going to say, you know, first of all, it's the guy who got over $50 million, a big contract, and then shows up with a peroxide buzz cut to training camp. Joe Burrow. All right. Like, first of all, I mean, I have questions as to, you know, why the franchise leader of your team is out here, you know, rubbing peroxide on his head and just walking out here. Like, there's a problem there with Joe Burrow. And that was the first thing I said. There was a problem and people needed to address it, because you don't just do that and say, I'm bored. You a grown man. You're the face of a franchise. You shouldn't be out here, you know, pouring peroxide on your neck, you know, and changing your hair color. Like he looked like Eminem, like, you know, old Eminem too, like buzz cut Eminem. That was bad. But look, Joe Burrow, they normally, yes, we've seen that Cincinnati has slow starts like in the past. This is not slow start Cincinnati. This is just a bad team. I've also never been high on that coach. I also felt like he has been overserved by the talent on that team. The talent is really what carried him to that Super Bowl a couple of years ago. But Joe Burrow, big disappointment. This was supposed to be a big step, a big leap for the Cincinnati Bengals. I know they've I don't know if it's really, they have those financial health issues early on in the season, you know, going on with their wide receivers there. All the hamstrings get tight when when they don't get the contract they want. So That's what happened there with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. But yeah, definitely Joe Burrow. This was supposed to be a much bigger year than it's being for him and that team in general. Despite them being slow starters, this is just not a good team. I know they won 3 of the last 4, but they're still not going to wake up out of the coma that they started this year. And so it's Joe.
Wow. I never thought that a most disappointing player would be a guy that just threw for 3+ touchdowns this past Sunday.
Yeah,
but
I know.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. It's been a very, I mean, you can very say that even with a crowded AFC North that they've been relatively disappointing. I think that's fair to say. For me, I think a regular season MVP so far this year would probably have to go to Lamar Jackson. I mean, which at this point, if I'm Lamar Jackson, I'm getting tired of that hardware. I want the ring. I want the one that counts. But when you're a guy that's thrown 20 touchdowns and 2 interceptions and doing better than both your MVP seasons, I don't know what to say, man. I don't know. You might as well give it to him now. Like, don't even worry about the rest of the year. Just hand him over. I will say an honorable mention. I know that he hasn't been having an opportunity to throw a lot of yards, but that's because he literally hasn't been able to. I would like to shout out Jared Goff. He is a guy who everybody has slandered over the past few seasons, saying that he was a bridge quarterback when he got to Detroit with the trade with Stafford. He gets there, and this year it's like his completion percentage is at an all-time high this year. He is making throws that I don't know. Sometimes Patrick Mahomes doesn't even make on a consistent basis. And I know that's a lofty thing to say, but it's the truth as far as this season's concerned. And Jared Goff is just, he's not playing out of character. He's playing within the offense, and it's working. It's leading to a lot of scores. It's leading to a lot of yards. And he's not giving the ball away, which is something that you typically would always say about Jared Goff. So I wanted to shout him out as an honorable mention for MVP. The most improved team for me, I feel like kind of goes without saying. They're in my division, unfortunately. It's the Washington Commanders. Yeah. This team, you know what? I actually, as an Eagles fan, I actually appreciate the fact they decided to make the boldest move in their entire team's history. They decided to have Dan Snyder not be an owner of the team anymore. They made that huge leap. And ever since that huge leap was made, miracles have happened. Hail Marys have been completed. The team is 7-2. Jaden Daniels is going to win Rookie of the Year. We have a running game that's averaging 100 yards per game. Terry McLaurin feels happy again. Now all of a sudden he wants to be in D.C. It's ridiculous. If it doesn't speak improvement, I don't know what to tell you. I have the Commanders there because I feel like them as a whole, not just Jaden, they have been playing beyond expectation, and I think that's enough to merit that award, that invisible award, if you will, for most improved. And I think most disappointing team so far this year. Oh boy, there's some contenders. There is some contenders. I don't know about y'all, but we had some very interesting expectations for the Los Angeles Rams. I know they're starting to pick it up a little bit as of late. They started off the year 1-4. It was getting a little bit murky. It was getting a little bit weird. Injuries all over the place. Actually, you know what? I'm joking. I'm going to use another team in my division. The Alice Cowgirls. You are the most disappointing team in the NFL. I don't know what there is to say. Whether it's the star. Look, with me being in Texas, I'm probably going to get ridiculed for this by the time I walk out the store. And that's totally fine. I'll take it. But when you are a supposed America's team and you have 3 wins on the year, Dak Prescott is not playing his best. We have CeeDee Lamb whining, complaining after every single snap. We have the defense. The reason why I say that they're called the Dallas Cowgirls because they play no defense. They're missing Michael Parsons. They're missing Lawrence. Their secondary is god-awful. I mean, do you want me to continue? I can, but I won't for the sake of time. But if we're talking about the most disappointing, it doesn't get much better than the Dallas Cowgirls, who deserve to be right exactly where they are, which is in argument for one of the worst teams in the NFL. And as an Eagles fan, I love it that way, baby. I do. All right, now we have a trade. We just had the trade deadline on Tuesday, yesterday actually, and we saw some moves. Wasn't a whole lot of game changers, but some actual needed moves. And I just want to go over, Kaz, what do you think was the best acquisition, and who do you think lost trade deadline for you?
I think the best acquisition was Jadeveon Clowney to the Lions. Like, that's exactly what they need. They need another pass rusher to fit that team. They need another guy who's experienced, who's high energy. Even though he's reaching up in age, he's still in the prime station of his career, and that's scary. I was very disappointed that the Baltimore Ravens let him walk this offseason and just sent him out. But Jadeveon Clowney has been amazing. Like, that's what I need. And then I'll say the most disappointing trade deadline, I'm going to say I'll probably say the Ravens out. Go also go because I'll say they didn't bring anyone in to help. You see that second, Geno is not fit in that scheme, right? Trey Henderson is trying to do everything on the defensive end, and they're asking Joe Burrow too much. Joe Burrow cannot go out there every single game, throw 300 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, and score 35 points per game. And then on the Ravens side, they didn't bring any guys in. Yes, they wouldn't get Tre'Davious White, but that's not the biggest reason. They needed pass rush to take some pressure off their secondary. They have guys in the secondary who would be great. It's just no pass rush is allowing the corners to get ate up. So I'm going to definitely say the Bengals and the Ravens most disappointing trade deadline.
Okay. Interesting. DJ, who won the trade deadline for you? And who lost it, you feel like? Had some interesting moves. What you think?
Who won it? I'm gonna stick with the Detroit Lions, the Darius Smith. Look, I said it before, when they lost Aiden Hutchinson and they showed they didn't have an ability to rush the passer. I felt like that was gonna pull them out of contention there. Zadarius Smith, that's a big move for them. I think that's gonna puts them right back in contention. Like I said, I have them as my pick to win out the NFC for the conference. So definitely the Detroit Lions, Zadarius Smith, that was the big move. Honorable mention, I like what Washington did picking up Lattimore. That's going to help them there. They needed a big cornerback help. Who I feel like lost, I'm going to stick close to home. I'm going to say one of the losers, actually the New York Giants on this one, a team and in a position that has some tradable talent. There. Excuse me. Darius Slayton. I just saw somebody say flip my camera. Darius Slayton, Azeez Ojulari. These guys are good talent that I feel like could have gotten them some much needed help in the draft or some draft picks that'll help them trade for some free agents there down the line. I feel like the Giants missed out on an opportunity there. They're not the only team that's selling that missed out, but I'm just going to bring that to the forefront. Giants should have definitely been wheeling and dealing. I don't think they need to save their talent for any kind of hopeful outcome to the rest of this season. So,
yeah, okay. I was thinking about. I don't know why I said Jadeveon Clowney. I was thinking about Zadarius Smith.
You good? I
was thinking about Clowney from last year, but then I was like, no, like the Ravens should have re-signed Zadarius Smith 2 years ago. So Zadarius Smith is definitely the best position in the trade deadline.
For sure. I think for me, I think it's kind of simple. Detroit getting Zadarius Smith was something that they immediately needed as far as their position, losing Aiden Hutchinson. And I'm pretty sure they really wanted to go out there Myles Garrett, honestly. They just kind of settled for Zadarius, which is not a bad settlement, might I add. But to have him on that defense, I think will help the Detroit Lions be even better on defense as far as their pass rush is concerned. And I think you'll see that once he gets a little bit more involved in the next couple of weeks. So I think that's an easy winner for them. Then there's a team who lost because they just had to make a move because they just love the headlines. And I love picking on them. It's great. It feels great. The Alice Cowgirls, they've done it for me yet again. They have lost the trade deadline. Now, look, I personally understand that there is a contract situation behind that. That's the whole reason why they made the move. They were thinking towards the future and things of that nature. I get it, kind of. But Jonathan Mingo for a fourth rounder? Are you serious? I mean, Amari Cooper was given up for a fifth rounder. I mean, my God. It's like y'all just want to make moves for the sake of saying that somebody said that the Dallas Cowboys were in the news cycle for today. It's ridiculous at this point. You're 3-5. You know y'all didn't need to do anything at the trade deadline. If anything, y'all might as well have been sellers and, I don't know, doing something drastic like getting some picks so that way y'all could get y'all roster together. Maybe trade a Micah Parsons or something crazy like that. But you decided not to do that, and you decided to go give up a fourth rounder for Jonathan Mingo, who, by the way, hasn't had a whole lot of targets and receptions this year because he's playing for the Porta Potty Panthers, and he doesn't start for them. So, the biggest disappointment? My Alice Cowgirls. You keep living it up, man. Y'all keep it up. Y'all doing great. Now, fellas, this is my favorite segment of the show. It does me so much great joy to be able to have this segment with you all. Now, it usually is called the bottom five. We go over the 5 worst teams in the NFL, and we get to trash them for however long we want. But this week, since we have so many things special, I figured I would add something special myself. So for this week going forward, it is no longer the bottom 5. It's no longer the worst teams in the NFL. It is now the Stinky 5. Now, this is my favorite because we get to go over the teams as I went over last week, are the porta potties of the NFL. Every time you go into their porta potties, it stinks and you're ready for some fresh air. And now I get to have one of my guests be able to share who those teams are. And you know what? I'm feeling oozy. I'm feeling oozy today. Kaz, what does your Stinky 5 look like?
Yeah, I'm gonna start at the top. It's the New Orleans Saints. I have no idea what this team's direction is. They started out the first 3 weeks. Derek Carr was finally feeling like, okay, this is why I came to New Orleans to beat this guy to get them over the hump. But then he went back to the same old Derek Carr. We have the same conversation every year. Everyone in the media talks about how Derek Carr is a good serviceable quarterback. You get him on a good team. He can be a good quarterback for a guy. You have Chris Olave. You have all these different types of guys. And he just got his wide receiver 1 hurt last Sunday. So he doesn't have Olave. You have Alvin Kamara. You can't even give AK the ball. So it's just at what point, when are we going to put the blame on Derek Carr for making all these teams that have good rosters lose? But at the end of the day, they had a terrible head coach, so they were going in another different direction. And then at number 2, we have the Las Vegas Raiders. They're just tanking for Shedeur Sanders. Like, at the end of the day, like, we all saw it. Like, they're tanking for Shedeur Sanders. It's not much Antonio Pierce can do with this team. Like, the offense is not talented enough. The only player in defense they have every single week that's shining is Max Crosby. And I know Crosby wants to be there, but I would really benefit for him to go to a higher team where he can be more beneficial and possibly play in a playoff game, because he's not going to play with the playoffs if he keeps with the Las Vegas Raiders. Then number 3, I'm sorry, DJ, I got the New York Giants. I'm just sorry. Like,
don't apologize. Don't apologize.
It's nothing more that I can say. Like, you have Daniel Jones as your quarterback. Like, that's it. Like, there's nothing more. Like, if you watch Malik Neighbors every single week, Daniel Jones overthrows him. He looks back and he's just like, I got to keep dealing with this. There's no way I'm going to be dealing with this my whole career. And it's nothing the Giants, it's nothing Brian Dable can do. Like, you paid the guy, you have to play him. If Brian Dable benches him, the ownership goes down to him, then his job is in scrutiny. So they have a talented defense. They had talented guys on offense. It's just, they just don't have the quarterback to get them there. Then number 4 with the Cleveland Browns. They're terrible. And it's not Jameis Winston's fault. It's not Kevin Stefanski's fault. It's not Greg. It's damn sure not Denzel Ward, who was one of the best corners in the league, who's been playing amazing this year. It's all Deshaun Watson and that ownership fault. Once you signed Deshaun Watson, you made a bid with the devil. Like, the devil's not going to let you win. Like, you gave that guy that type of money, and it's just like, you can't. The city doesn't even support him. Like, we saw when he got injured, like, pray to God anyone get injured. I don't want to see anybody get injured. But the fans literally booed him off the field. Like, I've never seen it. I've never seen the fan base boo a guy or get happy when a guy gets injured. And then it's not much Jameis Winston can do to bring that team back. So, got to get Deshaun Watson out of there. And then at number 5, I have the New England Patriots. Like, same situation. Drake May's not going to succeed or be a good quarterback if he doesn't have talent built around him. There's so many guys you keep going out and getting second, late round picks who are from the SEC, not these big type. You need a guy like Marvin Harrison. You need a guy like Malik Neighbors. You need prolific guys on the outside that can help your guys, like Jalen Polk. He's barely in the lineup. Got guys like, I'm trying to remember that one guy that they drafted 2 years ago, Thornton. They don't even use him. I haven't even seen it. I don't even know if he has a catch this year or reception yards or anything. I don't see much of Thornton. They have Ramondre Stevenson, who they literally benched 2 weeks ago because he wasn't producing. And it's just like the Patriots are still stuck in that same old way that Tom Brady can just make every single player around him better. You don't have Tom Brady anymore. Robert Kraft, you got to man up and you got to do something, or eventually fans are going to be hunting at you to sell the team.
Wow. You know, it does me great joy. I'm crying tears of joy, ladies and gentlemen. This is the first stinky 5 I've ever seen that doesn't have the Carolina Panthers, the Porta Potty Panthers, in the stinky 5 for the first time this year. Oh my God. We're making history, ladies and gentlemen. I love it. This is awesome, man. Kaz, you're the best. I'm losing my voice. This is ridiculous. I love it. The Carolina Panthers are outside the stinky 5 this week. Oh my God. Oh my God. Talking about sleeping with the devil. Anyways, what a show, fellas. That was great. Yeah, more like keep tanking is what that comment meant to say. I don't know what good that does for you, but keep it going, Bryce Young. You're doing great. Sort of. Fellas, this was great. This was awesome. Y'all were a part of a lot of brand new on this episode of the Rankings Roundtable show. Man, a lot of history being made. Kaz, you made a lot of history. DJ, you made a lot of history. Let the audience know where they can find you at, man. Kaz, where can they find you at, man?
Well, you can find me at Cam Bryce 1TV on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, do all of that. Big into the MLB, big MLB content creator, working on the MLB, doing coverage for the Baltimore Orioles every single day. You can check me out. Also doing some stuff with the Baltimore Ravens on there. So you can check me out on Twitter, X, whatever you call it.
Well done. DJ, where can they find you at, man?
You can find me at DJ The Voice on Instagram, on Twitter. Also find me covering Iona and Queens College basketball, doing PA for Queens College again. I know last time I said I'm not back with Army football, but we'll be back actually re-signing again next year. We're gonna bring it back, Army football though. Glad to be back with the clan. So always keeping it moving, always a new assignment.
Wow, we went from being in a relationship and being back into the same relationship with them once again. I'm proud of you, DJ. You're making a lot of strides this year. We got a kid on the way. We going back to our exes professionally. This is fantastic, man. This is awesome.
It's been a good couple of weeks.
All right. Y'all can find me, follow me, whatever you feel like doing. At _ terrific Tom _ because it's infinite around here. You know that. You can follow me on X, Instagram, or as Kaz said, X or Twitter, whatever you feel like calling it today. It doesn't matter. You can find me on here. I am the host of the Rankings Roundtable show. I think I'm pulling a triple header this week. So I guess y'all got to get used to seeing my face because I will be a guest host of Moving the Chains this Sunday. That should be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it. I'm also co-host of the Off the Dome show, Fridays, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. That's what I do. This is what we do, okay? This was a fantastic show. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Like, share, and subscribe. Fly, Eagles, fly. And lastly, join us. Eat them doves, baby. Out of here.